Hello, everybody, and welcome into today's episode of Around the Slice. We are back on this Friday to preview Bills-Broncos Monday Night Football. Now, I want to start off with this because before we get into really anything about this game, I want to start off with this players only meeting that was called to action by Bills veteran backup running back Latavius Murray yesterday because I know it is a hot button topic right now. I know there's a lot of different sides and opinions out there, so I just want to discuss it. So there's been rumblings. Is it a good sign for the team? Is it a bad sign for this offense? Why have a players only meeting? Are they panicking because it's their second players only offensive players only meeting of the season? And I want to share my 2 cents. Now, let me start with this. Let me back up and start with this. I know there's a benefit. I know there's a benefit to airing out your grievances, if you will. At least they're communicating. They're not just letting it fester. They're not just letting frustration bottle up, if you will. They're not just letting frustration bottle up. Um, they're actually addressing the issues. But I look at it as I don't want to say we're panicking, but it's kind of concerning to me when only through 9 games and approaching week 10, so through 10 weeks of the season, you had to have your second players only meeting already through 10 weeks. And the first one was after the week 1 loss to the Jets, where Josh Allen had 3 interceptions and 1 fumble, so 4 turnovers in total. And over the last 5 weeks, weeks 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, since Miami, this offense just hasn't had a rhythm. So yes, I understand wanting to fix things and wanting to improve things, but if this has been how it is over the last 5 weeks, one little players only meeting, well, not little, one players only meeting isn't going to fix everything in one game. I feel like Latavius Murray did call this because he's been on a handful of different teams, including the Broncos for a couple last year, actually, in his career. So he knows he's been on both sides of the spectrum, high powered offense, low powered offense, struggles, whatever. But this is kind of concerning me because, as I said, it's their second one of the season already. But I only understand the meeting if this happens. If the offense actually improves and things are fixed, like they held this meeting for, like Latavius Murray supposedly initiated this meeting for, then I'll understand it. But if they come out Monday night totally flat and they continue to struggle on offense, then I'm going to really question what was the point of that offensive players only meeting? What was the point of airing out grievances? If you want to fix this, if you held it to fix this offense and held it to improve this offense, then show us. So many times after games, before games, throughout the week, in different press conferences and locker room access, whatever, this team, especially Sean McDermott, keeps saying complimentary football this, complimentary football that. I'm tired of hearing what you want to do. Show us what you want to do. Show us that vision. We want to get back to complimentary football. We want this. We want that. Stop saying we want and stop, you know, telling us and actually show it. Because the last 5 weeks, you haven't done it. To be honest, you haven't done it. And listen, I know over the past week I have been the biggest, I don't want to say hater, but biggest Ken Dorsey doubter out of really anyone. I know I laid into him pretty hard the last podcast episode, but this is specifically the players. The players brought this on themselves. I'm talking about pressure. When you hold a players only meeting like that, and the public knows about it now, as we do from different beat reporters yesterday, you're putting pressure on yourselves. If you come out, once again, I'll reiterate, if you come out Monday night and continue to struggle, then you're going to look really that's, to be honest, flat out, outright, that's a horrible, horrible look. You held this player only meeting, but what was the point of it if it fixed nothing? Go out there, show us what you mean. So they brought this pressure on themselves, and they better show it. That's just my 2 cents on the situation. Anyways, let's get to the actual game. So obviously, Buffalo Bills hosting the Denver Broncos. Official broadcast information, so you guys know where to stream it, watch it, cable or YouTube TV like I have, or internet TV, I should say. Anything basically, everyone gets ESPN, right? So it's Monday, November 13th, Monday Night Football at 8:15 p.m. on ESPN. That's right. I didn't mean to do that, but 8:15 p.m. on ESPN. Yeah. So there's your broadcast information. And obviously, we know the Broncos team: Troy Aikman, Joe Buck. I like Troy Aikman, but Joe Buck is kind of like boring. But that's who's obviously counting the game as they do every Monday night. But let's get to the injury front, because the Bills, unfortunately, this is quite a long list. Now, we already know who's on IR. I'm not going to rehash it. I rehash it like every episode, as recently as last week even. But QB Josh Allen, there's nothing to worry about here. He's listed as right shoulder. He's a full participant. I assume basically the rest of the season, he might have a few rest days here and there. People are thinking maybe this is a staple thing every week where he'll take a day off and not practice at all. Apparently that's not the case, but he'll be listed on here the rest of the season just because he is nursing, if you even want to call it that, a right shoulder injury, just for precautionary, but really nothing to worry about like at all because he did practice in full. Cornerback Christian Benford, who Sean McDermott did say tweaked his hamstring. That's why he didn't play at all in the second half against the Bengals tonight. He was a DNP, did not practice. These hamstrings can linger. Now, I hope he doesn't go on IR, but this is probably like a 2 to 3 week injury at least. Unfortunately, like Christian Benford was probably our best corner, excluding Rasul Douglas, because we traded him for at the deadline. But him and Dave Jackson were an okay pair. Christian Benford, I feel like, really stepped up to the moment a lot. There's only been 1 or 2 games this year where I could classify him as bad games. He's been pretty good this year, though. Linebacker Terrell Bernard, concussion, but but at least he was limited. At least he practiced in some capacity. You usually see guys practice the first practice or 2 right after they sustain it and go into protocol, don't practice at all, DNP. But he was limited, so that's a great sign, honestly, or at least a good sign, I should say, for him to play Monday night versus the Broncos. Defensive end Leonard Floyd, illness, DNP, probably just regular winter illnesses going around. Safety Micah Hyde, neck/stinger, DNP. Now, this is concerning because remember last year, he only played 2 games. And apparently, if the Bills had advanced to the AFC Championship, he was going to return ready to go, full blast. But he obviously didn't make it there. I'm not going to go back to that. Heartbreaking moment. But they didn't make it there. But Mike I was playing very well this year. Maybe not elite football like he has been, but he's been very great this year. Very good, I should say. But we don't want that neck injury to come back. Linebacker AJ Klein, back. He was at least limited. And then safety Jordan Poyer, which I did not know, but I've never seen a shin injury, but DNP. And then linebacker Balen Spector, hamstring. He was limited. I expect, unfortunately, Balen Spector to go on IR. This really hasn't been brought up, but I expect him personally, for my own thoughts, for him to go on IR this week at some point. Unfortunately, ending a season, because you can put the same player in IR twice, you're allowed to, and if you put them on a second time, that ends their season. First time 4 games, second time whatever point you put them on, out for the remainder of the season. And obviously we already know the guys in IR. Not gonna go over it again, but we all know. So unfortunately, that's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that didn't practice or were limited or full. 8 guys in the injury report, I should say. I'm really only worried about like Benford and Micah Hyde. Terrell Bernard is expected to play since he was limited the very first practice. At least he got out there. Usually see guys take off a practice or 2 if they're seriously in concussion protocol. I mean, not seriously. It's not making it up that he's in protocol, but hopefully you know what I mean. Keys for Bills offense. Before I get into anything, I'm gonna say this right now. This is like kind of a declaration, but this should be like no duh to any Bills fan, whoever's listening to this, really any NFL fan. If we lose Monday night hosting the Broncos at home at Highmark Stadium, if we lose Monday night, our season's over. Pack it in. We're not making the playoffs. It's too hard. Back end teams in the AFC, like the Texans, are heating up. The Colts are kind of sneaky, kind of frisky there, if you will. What did I say? Texans, Colts. The Steelers just keep on winning. They don't look overly impressive. The whole AFC North is like cannibalizing itself. They're in a battle. So our season's over if we draft at 5-5. I hope everyone knows that, like recognizes that. Let's not sugarcoat it. I'm a Bills fan, but I'm not going to be a homer here. If we lose Monday night to the Broncos, pack it in. We're done. 5-5. It's over. We're not making even the playoffs. And the month of January is going to be miserable. For a team that's coming into the year to be Super Bowl contenders, to not even make the playoffs, that's a complete failure of a season, in my opinion. Not in my opinion, it's just a fact. That's a complete failure of a season going from Super Bowl contenders all the way to the ground, basically going missing the playoffs as the Bills. I mean, think about it. Just the name brand. You're the Buffalo Bills. You have Josh Allen, who's the top 3 QB in the league, and you can't even make the playoffs. It's sickening. I know I kind of went in my rant midway through last week's episode to the end, but I'm not going to go out again. I'm just saying, I hope everyone realizes if we lose Monday night to the Broncos, let's not sugarcoat things. Our season is over. Done. Pack it in. Another point I want to bring up before getting into anything. I know we have like a lot of newsy items and like I want to share my opinions before I actually get into the keys and preview and all that. But I want to get this off my chest. I don't know if you guys agree, but listening to this or watching this, whatever platform you're on, I appreciate it. This team just seems kind of uptight. I kind of get the sense that like they're not having as fun. Like the John Brown, Cole Beasley, Stephon Diggs, that trio of receivers, and Josh Allen obviously at QB was great. Like they all had fun. And this team kind of seems uptight. Coming into the year, they had so much pressure, win the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl. Obviously, I want that, but they got to get back to having fun. I feel like they're all uptight. I feel like they're just all uptight. The pressure has gotten to them of having to win a Super Bowl. Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane for that matter too, but mainly Sean McDermott just signed a 4-year extension. So the pressure is on. Tim Pagula. Wow. Terry Pagula trusts him, obviously, to get the job done. I feel like they just got it back to playing a high-level football while having fun. The team, I don't know if you agree, but the team just kind of sounds and seems uptight to me. It feels like it's all too much business. I don't know. The team's just kind of uptight to me. They got to get back to having fun while they're playing. I don't know. That's just my thoughts, 2 cents, if you will. Keys for Bills offense. These are my keys. Again, never in order of importance. These are just me saying. Find a balance between throwing the ball downfield and taking what's in. Or find a balance between throwing the ball downfield with deep shots and taking what's there, not in. So what I mean is the deep shots, obviously they've tried to get Deontay Hardy going a few times this season with the deep shots, and that just hasn't worked. I mean, the turf toe is lingering. The turf toe from last year, where he only played 3 games with the Saints, the turf toe is obviously more serious than we thought. I didn't realize turf toe was that serious, but it's clearly affecting Deontay Hardy. He's not as explosive. On return, he's fine. But for actual like offense, he only played 5% of offensive snaps this week, 3 snaps total. So they got to stop doing that so much, but they also got to get checkdowns many times. Like, for instance, when Josh Allen threw that interception where he was trying to hit the honey hole with Gabe Davis, what that means in the NFL is you try to hit a very tight window and it just didn't work. And you had James Cook out in the flat, he probably would have gotten 10 to 11 yards at least, if not more. You even had Khalil Shakir going across the middle, holding his hand of like, yo, bud, I'm over here. So, yeah. But so, I don't know what side I fall on because I've heard a lot of fan chatter. Last year, everyone was like, when around midseason, when Josh Allen injured his elbow right around this time, they said, he keeps dialing up deep shots. He keeps throwing deep shots. Fans are saying he's gotta take what's there. He's got to take middle of the field. He's got to take 5 to 10 to 15-yard checkdowns, not go 20 to 25 plus yards down the field every other play. And then this year, it's the total opposite of the spectrum. You go a hard reverse this way, and fans are like, well, Josh Allen, the coaches, and Ken Dorsey and Sean McDermott are capping him too much. They neutered Josh Allen, if you will, because they're not letting him be who he is. They're not letting him be this big, intimidating quarterback with this howitzer of an arm. Like, decide what you want, but they have to thread the needle, if you will. They have to find a balance between that. You can't have everything, so you got to find a balance. Maybe take 1 or 2 or maybe even 3 deep shots a game. If it doesn't work, fine. Use someone else, though, than Deontay Hardy downfield. Like Trent Sherfield, I haven't seen him at all basically this season. He played more than Hardy, but that's not saying much because he only played 7% of offensive snaps Sunday night against the Bengals compared to Deontay Hardy's 5%. But take what's there. I want to see him take. Yeah, I want to see him take what's there. Sorry, I was just thinking. But you can't have everything if you're fans. So, yes, has Josh Allen been neutered? Maybe. by the coaching staff, Ken Dorsey, Sean McDermott. Maybe. Has he been scared off of running as much? Maybe, but Ken Dorsey's got to put more design runs in the playbook. If you want to hear about Ken Dorsey, I laid into him pretty hard last week's episode. That was probably overreactionary, but like it was an instant reaction after the game, basically. So, I mean, it is what it is. But you got to find a balance between taking what's there and opening up the playbook downfield. Second, literally, this is just one player in particular. Contain Baron Browning. Because I'll talk about the secondary in a minute. Because no one in that defensive line, like DJ Jones, has had a disappointing season. And then, like, you have supplementary guys like Jonathan Cooper, Josie Jewell, and Drew Sanders, who's a rookie at linebacker, who can also rush off the edge. Kind of a hybrid guy out of Arkansas, who I actually wanted for the Bills in the pre-draft process leading up to it. But I'm going to talk about Baron Browning here. He's basically morphed. They were playing him out of position when he came into the league. I think it's his 20. It's either his third or fourth season. I want to say third season in the league. I can't remember where he went to college. Doesn't matter. But the only way I can explain him is a firecracker. I mean, the guy's motor just never stopped. He's a good run stuffer. He's becoming a really, really, not elite, but great edge rusher. I mean, the guy's motor never stops. Like I just said, firecracker. I mean, you snap the ball, boom, he's off there in 2 seconds. So Spencer Brown, I feel like he has this really bad game, one bad game of the season last week. Osiris Torrance's play is kind of stopped, but if Deion Dawkins can continue his elite play against Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals, he can probably contain Baron Browning, but they're probably going to want to take advantage of Spencer Brown with Baron Browning. So again, Browning is a firecracker. It seems like he's in the backfield within 2 seconds, if not less, sub 2 seconds when they snap the ball. So Josh Allen's got to be, because Josh Allen's been kind of under pressures here. Usually he dices up pressure, whether it's natural pressure or artificial blitz, sending 4 with natural pressure, sending 6 with artificial blitz. He's usually diced them up as recent as last year even, but he's kind of struggled this year. So just watch out for Baron Browning. If you need maybe, well, I know you can't do this because Dawson Knox isn't there, but maybe bring in Reggie Gilliam, who, like, God forbid they play him because he played 0% of snaps. His last 4 games are like 7. Against Miami, he played 17% of snaps, which that's okay, I guess. Still not as much as I want him to, nearly as much. But then he played, he's like a bowling ball as a blocker. That's why I want to see him in the field more. But then it's gone steadily downhill for 7% of snaps, 5% of snaps, 3% of snaps, 2%. And then like this past week against the Bengals Sunday night again, it was 0%. Not a single snap, nothing. So I want to see him kind of open up holes for the run game, but maybe if you need help with Spencer Brown against Baron Browning, because you're probably going to have to double team him on quite a few different occasions, let's be honest. So bring in Reggie Gilliam, bring in David Edwards as that jumbo tight end, that 6 offensive lineman, the hybrid. But I want to see Reggie Gilliam mainly, maybe chip him with the tight end with Quentin Morris and have Dalton Kincaid go out in the formation. And then this is another, literally, this is easier said than done, but stay away from Pat Surtain. There was no way the Broncos were trading him at the deadline. That would have cost 2 first-round picks plus more. No team was giving that up. He's an elite. There's not many elite corners in the league today. Like, I don't think Jalen Ramsey's like elite. He's good, but I don't think he's elite. Xavier Howard, I don't think he's elite. Trey Alexander, I don't think he's elite. There's only 2 elite shutdown corners in the league right now, currently. Sauce Gardner of the Jets and Pat Surtain of the Broncos. They're basically the same. I would give the slight edge to Sauce Gardner and the of the Jets. But yeah, Pat Surtain's a superstar too, so stay away from him. I feel like, I mean, it's Stefon Diggs, so he's gonna get his, but like I feel like Stefon Diggs could have like 5 catches for like 60, 65 yards. That's kind of a quiet, any other receiver that's good, but that's kind of a quiet-ish day for Stefon Diggs, considering how he's overly dominant has been this season. So just stay away from Pat Surtain. And because other than that, the other corner is, I don't even know their name. Like, I don't even care because they like rotate 2 or 3 guys, I think, but it's like, obviously, no one close to Pat Surtain. Pat Surtain is the backbone of that secondary. Justin Simmons at safety too, but I'm talking about Pat Surtain mainly here because stay away from him. Gabe Davis is going to have not a monster game, but come on, man, you got to do something. Like, if Stefon Diggs is being locked down by Pat Surtain, if he's being double teamed by Pat Surtain and someone else, maybe Justin Simmons coming up at safety, then Gabe Davis, you got to step up. I want to see actually clear Shakir. I don't know what happened, but outsnap Gabe Davis. I want to see Sherfield. Like Hardy's disappointed. Like they haven't really given Sherfield an opportunity. He only has 3 catches on the year and like 5 targets. I really don't understand. But stay away from Pat Surtain and ancillary pieces like Gabe Davis. I know he's really, really disappointed. Like 2 targets, 0 catches, unacceptable against the Bengals Sunday night again. But yeah, that's just my keys to the Bills offense. I'm sure there are more, but those are the 3 things I'm kind of worried about and keeping my eye on it, if you will. So keys for Bills defense. I'll just get into it. First, prepare for a rotation at running back. Obviously, they have Javonte Williams, who it's kind of like a Breece Hall situation because Breece Hall was coming back from a torn ACL. The first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, he was on a like pitch count, snap count. Same with Javonte Williams, returning from a torn ACL. First 4 or 5 week season, pitch count. But those 2 have been unleashed. But for these purposes, Javonte Williams, he's heating up. He had a monster game against the Chiefs. Monster game against the Chiefs. What was I saying? Yeah, he had a monster game against the Chiefs, so I'm terrified of Javonte Williams. Ed Oliver isn't the best run stuffer. He's kind of disappointed and disappeared in big moments the last couple games. And then Tim Settle, Puna Ford. This is going to be a big Linval Joseph game as a big space eater. And then they have guys like Samaje P. Ryan who can good to great receiving ability out of the backfield. But Jaleel McLaughlin is the sneaky guy to watch out for here. He's undrafted out of I just looked at this yesterday. Some D2 school, Division 2 D2 school that I can't even remember now, but same as Deontay Hardy, he went to a D2 school, but Assumption or whatever. But Jaleel McLaughlin, all I know, D2 school, undrafted. But he was a priority UDFA, priority undrafted free agent, and he's been really good as a direct backup to Javonte. He's supplanted Samaje Perine, but I am terrified about Javonte Williams, not because he's this elite running back, but over the last couple of games, especially when they upset the Chiefs, 24-9, I think it was. Yeah, that's what it was. Javonte really went off in that game, and Jaleel McLaughlin is his direct backup. Like he can receive, he can run in between the tackles or in the edges. He's kind of a mix between Samaje Perine and Javonte Williams. So just look for a running back being between those 2 and Sprinkle and Samaje Perine. Be physical on the Cortland side. I mean, this is like duh. But Christian Benford, I'm assuming he won't play. Dane Jackson didn't show up in the injury report, which is good because he had like an undisclosed injury. I think it was only like during the game. He's fine now. So the starting corners, if are probably going to be will be because I don't really. Say like a 10%, 20% chance that Christian Benford plays. 80% he doesn't. I'll be shocked if he plays. Hamstrings can linger. I explained that in the beginning, but Dane Jackson, Rasul Douglas. Dane Jackson isn't the most physical corner in the world. He doesn't really get up your face. He's a very good zone defender. I know this team doesn't run man-to-man, but you might have to run some against Cortland Sutton. I'm really not even, like, scared isn't the right word. I'm really not worried about Jerry Jeudy. I'm mainly worried about Cortland Sutton with his big frame at, like, what is he? Like, 6'4". He's big like Gabe Davis, but he actually plays like he's big. He doesn't, like, drop much like Gabe Davis. He actually uses his physicality well. He's actually a really, really good route runner for that physicality, for that size, I should say, which Gabe is not. So I would say, even though they're the same size, Cortland Sutton is a more refined player. Doesn't have as much limitations as Gabe Davis. But I think Rasul Douglas is going to have to be huge in this game against Cortland Sutton because Cortland Sutton, like 6'4", well over 200 pounds, and Rasul Douglas is like 6'2", 210. So he's no small corner, man. So look for Rasul Douglas to get in Cortland Sutton's face, and I think he's I know he's Russell Wilson's most trusted target, and I'm not worried about Jerry Jeudy. So I feel like they're gonna funnel it through Cortland Sutton. And you would think Marvin Mims, the rookie out of Oklahoma, who's an electric returner. I think he's had 2 return touchdowns this season already, but they just don't use him like they should. So look for Rasul Douglas and Cortland Sutton and look for that matchup. I know it's not like a top corner and a top receiver, but for this matchup specifically, this Bills-Broncos Monday Night Football, that's going to be a key one to watch. Next and last key for the Bills defense, get pressure on Russell Wilson. These are like a lot of these keys, offensive and defenses are obvious, but getting pressure on Russell Wilson, because early in his career, like his prime Seahawks days, he was awesome at getting out of pressure. He would spin out of tackles all the time. He's an elite rusher on the ground. He was a top 3, if not the best at one point in time with his in his prime in the Seahawks. One of the best mobile quarterback in the league at that time. He's lost a ton of that since being on the Broncos. Now last year, Nathaniel Hackett was the problem with the Broncos, obviously, but Russell Wilson was terrible last year too, but this year it's kind of the opposite. Russell Wilson's playing not elite football, but great football. He's bounced back in a huge way, but no one notices it because the team around him is really bad. Jerry Jeudy's been disappointing. His main tight end, Greg Dulcich, is on IR. Javonte Williams is finally heating up. Julian McLaughlin's been a cool story, but Wilson's not the problem anymore. But I say get pressure on Russell Wilson because this isn't prime Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson days. This is kind of older, not washed, but this is older Russell Wilson Broncos days. His second year with the Broncos, so he's not as adapt. What's the right word? He's not as willing to run anymore. Like he doesn't really have those big explosive runs like he did back in the day, prime with the Seahawks again. So if you get pressure on him, and do not, Sean McDermott, he blitzed 30% of the time on defense. The difference is natural pressure is 4 down linemen. That's it. So literally, so in the Bills defense, I guess you could say it's Leonard from like left to right. It's Greg Rousseau, Tim Settle / Jordan Phillips, whoever, and then Ed Oliver, and then Leonard Floyd because he's still starting over Von Miller. That's 4 down linemen. That's natural pressure. That's good. But when you bring in other guys like Terrell Bernard to rush, or when you go a six-man blitz, then defenses will carve you up. That's not how you stop Joe Burrow. Like McDermott's got to stop getting so trigger happy. I love aggressiveness. Leslie Frazier wasn't really aggressive. He just let the offense let passes come to them when they did. I like McDermott as defensive coordinator this year, but man, he's got to stop blitzing so much. Let your guys get there naturally. So Russell Wilson, pressure him because he can't really handle pressure. He's not really. I was surprised by this, by the way. Russell Wilson's 34 years old. I didn't realize he's been in the league that long. He was drafted in 2011. I mean, he's 34. He's getting up there for sure. Mid-30s, he kind of drop off. But he's actually playing really good this year. He's not the problem there, but pressure him because he's not as willing to run like he used to be. Really not even close. So, yeah. Players of the game predictions. On offense, I'm going to go with Khalil Shakir because, like I said, I feel like Stefon Diggs is going to be bottled up by Pat Surtain. They might even double team him. And you would think if they double team him, Gabe Davis, that's a lot down the field open for Gabe Davis. But I said he's a very limited player in terms of skill set and talent and what he is and what he can become. Well, actually, it's not what he can become. He doesn't really have any ceiling anymore in the league since it's his 4th year. But nonetheless, I have Khalil Shakir's offense because I feel like if they're double teaming Stefon Diggs, if they respect Gabe Davis at least down the field, that's going to leave Khalil Shakir to sit in the soft zone. You would hope Josh wouldn't force things down the field and see him, and I don't think he will force Khalil Shakir to run to the sticks, run and sit in the soft zone and to pick apart the Broncos soft zone there. Defense, I have Russell Douglas. I don't really have many confidence in anyone else in this defense. Tim Settle, Poona Ford, and Jordan Phillips are all disappointing. Poona Ford's back to being inactive. I really don't get it. Linval Joseph just came in, except he's a big space eater. Ed Oliver disappeared the last couple of games. Greg Rousseau is playing through an injury. AJ Epinenza's not playing nearly enough. And I think he needs to play like 60, 65% of snaps. And he's down at 45%. At the end of games, like 4th quarter, Shaq Lawson and Kingsley Jonathan are there, which I don't understand. But and Leonard Floyd's was playing through a foot injury, and Greg Rousseau was playing through an ankle injury. So this defense, even when guys are playing, they're playing through injuries. So I have Russell Douglas. He's going to have to be physical with Courtland Sutton, like I explained. I don't know if Russell Wilson, if you get pressure on Russell Wilson, he can throw a pick or two, but I don't think Russell Wilson's a pretty smart guy at the quarterback with the ball in his hand, at least for this year, tons of experience in the league. But I think Russell Douglas will get it just because I think he's going to have multiple pass breakups on Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton might get him for like a catch or two, big catch and a touchdown maybe, because Courtland Sutton is a red zone monster, just like Gabe Davis, but more refined, as I explained earlier. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Rasul Douglas though. He's gonna have to be physical with Cortland Sutton, and I think he's gonna step up in a big way. Next, 5 game predictions. Now I have been really bad with these this season. So I'm gonna switching up my methodology, if you will, this week and going forward this year, honestly. So I'm gonna use prize picks player props. Now, I don't bet. I can. I'm of age on this prize picks. I create an account just to look at these. I don't bet. If you do this, great, whatever. Personally, I don't, so don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying this because I'm actually going to bet them. I just create an account in prize picks, and every week I will just look at the 4, because the 5th one's the score prediction, who will win, and all that jazz. I will look at the 4 player props I want to go over or under. I'm just using it as a reference. Again, not actually betting them. I'm going to take Javonte Williams over 54.5 rushing yards. He's finally been heating, like I said, he's finally been heating up the last couple weeks. He's not like on a pitch count. Compare it to Breece Hall. He's not like on a pitch count according to Sean Payton anymore. And they've unleashed him. Julian McLaughlin too, but I'm terrified. Let's be honest, of Javonte Williams. Again, not because like he's some elite running back. He's probably like around like 10 to like 15 to 20 running back in the league in terms of rankings, but I am terrified of our run defense is pretty terrible. So I'm going to take Javonte Williams over 54.5 rushing yards. Cortland Sutton, I'm going to take over 44.5 receiving yards. Yes, I said Rasul Douglas is going to be really physical with him. And Rasul Douglas was my personal prediction for defensive player of the game. But they'll probably have, I doubt Christian Benford will play. They'll probably have Dane Jackson and maybe Josh Norman on the field sometimes against Cortland Sutton. I think that's where he can take advantage. I feel like Rasul Douglas is the really only really physical corner on this roster. So I'm going to go Cortland Sutton easily over 44.5 receiving yards, because I think when Dane Jackson mainly and Sprinkle and Josh Norman sometimes is on it, Cortland Sutton is much more athletic than those two, especially Norman. He can pick them apart. Douglas can handle them, but not Jackson, and especially not Norman. So Cortland Sutton over 44.5 receiving yards. 2 more here. I did two Broncos ones and now the 2 Bills related ones. Josh Allen over 31.5 rushing yards. If Stephon Diggs is bracketed in double team, if Gabe Davis has proven trust levels gone down and unreliable, yes, Khalil Shakir is going to be sitting in the soft zones. But if Josh Allen, I feel like he's passed up quite a few rushing lanes, especially against the Bengals. I feel like he could add a second rushing touchdown if he just saw the lane time. There's 2 things he could have done in the interception where he was targeting Gabe Davis. He could have hit Khalil Shakir in the 3 things, really. He could have hit Khalil Shakir in the soft zone, right, for a first down. He could have hit James Cook with the check down, not exactly a screen, but close to it. Or he could have taken off and gotten way more first down plus more, probably. But Josh Allen, I think he'll learn from that. Over 31.5 rushing yards. And lastly, my last actual over-under prediction, Khalil Shakir over 36.5 rushing yards. I've explained this a few times. Stephon Diggs bracketed, double teamed by Pat Surtain and maybe like Justin Simmons or someone else. Gabe Davis has been unreliable. Khalil Shakir sitting in those soft zones when Josh Allen doesn't decide to take off and run. I think Kincaid and Shakir will have a big game. Their linebackers are Josie Jewell, an aging player, but still really good. And Drew Sanders, who's had some struggles as a rookie. And they have been blitzing off the edge, honestly, more times than not this year, which I think they're using him out of position. But Khalil Shakir over 36.5 rushing yards. And then obviously my 5th and final prediction. So I hope, by the way, I hope switching the methodology up to these prize picks over unders are gonna help my success rate on these more. So before I get to score, let me recap it. Just if you're just checking in, I should do this probably moving forward more. Javonte Williams over 54.5 rushing yards. Cortland Sutton, he will have over 44.5 receiving yards. Josh Allen over 31.5 rushing yards, and then Khalil Shakir over 36.5 rushing yards. So 2 Broncos props and 2 Bills props. Player props. So, and then lastly, I think Bills win the game 30-24. Honestly, this should be like 30-10, 30-13, but the Bills have not proven that lately at all. I'm saying they only win by 6 points. This shouldn't be the case, but we're going to be swaying this out, I feel like, for no reason at all. And if you lose, like I said in the beginning, your season is over. Pack it in. We're done. 5-5, we're done. Bills win the game 30-24. AFC East look at. So the Dolphins are on a bye week, which since they're not playing, if the Bills win, they'll go to 6-4, which I do have them beating the Broncos by 6. Again, 30-24. If the Bills win, they'll go to 6-4, but the Dolphins will still be 6-3. So since the Dolphins aren't playing, there's no chance to jump them because there's no way for the Dolphins to lose. So we'll technically still be second in the AFC East because we'll have one more loss than them, even though we played another game. Whatever. Jets at Raiders. What a fantastic Sunday Night Football game that we got on tap. Jets at Raiders. I mean, the NFL is just so generous. Last night for Thursday Night Football, we had Panthers and Bears. That sucked. And then Sunday night, we have Jets and Raiders. In all honesty, these are horrible. Meanwhile, we got Ravens, Browns, deadlock AFC North battle, 1:00 p.m. slate, Eastern time spot. And then we got 49ers, Jaguars, 1 p.m. spot. And those are two great games. You could have had one of those for Thursday night, one of those for Sunday night. I have to go watch my Bills on Monday night. But stop putting the Jets in primetime, please. I know this was supposed to be like Aaron Rodgers versus Jimmy Garoppolo, Aaron Rodgers against his former all-pro wide receiver, Devontae Adams, all those storylines. But it's not there anymore. Please flex it out. Zach Wilson does not need to be displayed on primetime anymore. Honestly, like, come on. But yeah. And then Bills versus Broncos. So yeah, that's what we got on tap for Monday night. I really, really hope this team, they're not in shambles right now, but my panic meter from 1 being I don't panic at all. They're going all the way to Super Bowl. They're going to make a playoff run here, and 10 being time to sound the alarms. If they lose, it will be a 10 because we'll be out of the playoffs. But right now, it's probably my panic meter is at an 8, I would say. So it's pretty high up there. It's not a 10, but it's pretty high up there at 8. So in terms of panic meter. So anyway, just a reminder, Bills beat the Broncos 30-24. If you are listening on audio platforms, I encourage you to come over to the YouTube. I just published a video yesterday as a YouTube exclusive, checking in every NFL team's midseason contender tier. So all the way from Super Bowl contenders down to see you next year. I think the categories are Super Bowl contenders, playoff contenders, could be sneaky. What's that weird middle ground? They're not bad enough to tank, but they're not good enough to really contend. And then the bottom of the bottom tier, the fourth tier on the bottom, I had see you next year. It's basically they're planning for next year. It's time to pack it in and give up. Basically. Anyway, so speaking of the YouTube channel, you can watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter personally at @AWeingartner13. I'm always tweeting about basketball, football, college football. I love sports in general. So yeah, and you can follow the show on Twitter at Around Slice. Obviously, I said at the beginning of my last episode, I'm starting an internship. It goes about 4 months, 3.5, 4 months. So there'll be any scheduling updates or conflicts with that on the show Twitter at Around Slice on Twitter. And you can support me on Patreon. What that is, you get extra exclusive content not found in this podcast. So if you like my voice and like my work, very generous to you, by the way, then you can do that for just $3 a month. For example, at weekly power rankings and other stuff sprinkling throughout the weeks and months. So it's patreon.com/aroundtheslice, $3 a month once again. So yeah, again, Bills beat Broncos, Monday Night Football, 30-24. Thank you for tuning in today. This is do or die point of the season because after this, you have Eagles week 12, then you have your bye, and then from Chiefs week 13 on, it's a gauntlet. After the bye week, this might not be the order. I don't think it even is, but you play in some order at some point. Chiefs still, Eagles are before the bye, but after the bye, Chiefs, Chargers, Cowboys, Dolphins again, Jets again, Patriots again. So you better beat the Broncos, Jets, and Patriots or you're done. So anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in today. I would love to hear from you in the comments if you're on the YouTube. And if you're not, again, I encourage you to come on over. And I will see you on Tuesday for the day after reaction. I'm not working that day for the internship, so we can do it the day after. Anyways, guys, I'll see you later. Thank you for tuning in today. Bye.